So when you think Beats headphones, you probably think massive brand deals, flashy design, and let's be honest, really bass heavy sound. What you probably don't think is $50 all-day battery life, round the neck, inconspicuous little earbuds. But that's exactly what Beats Flex are. And that begs the question, who are they for? Hello and welcome back to Mark Ellis Reviews. Thank you for subscribing if you already have. If you haven't, just click the button below and you'll never miss an episode. Right, I have no idea what the word flex means because I'm 40 years old, but I do know that these are called Beats Flex and they are the successor to the Beats X series headphones. Now, I never had the Beats X, but I have had Beats headphones in the past, namely of the over-the-ear variety. And I agree with people when they say that those headphones are generally design over function, they're very bass heavy, they're an acquired taste, definitely. However, since Apple bought Beats, things have changed a little bit. They do seem to have gone down the route of being a little bit more functional, the sound has mellowed a little bit, and more recently they have released these, which are called the Beats Flex. Now, the idea of $50 or £50 if you're in the UK, Beats headphones is quite interesting to me, as is their headline feature, which isn't sound, it's not design, it's nothing like that. It's the fact that they will last, apparently, 12 hours, which is typically all day. Now, I've used these for a week and I have a few thoughts. So right off the bat, pairing, the Beats Flex have what is known as the Apple W1 chip. That's basically what you get in these, the AirPods Pro, and it basically means that the connection between these and your Apple devices is ridiculously easy. All you do when you first get them, place them near your iPhone, for example, turn them on, and a little thing will pop up and say, do you want to connect? You say yes. That's it, done. And the great thing about that, the thing I love actually about the W1 chip, is that it means you have seamless connectivity between all of your devices. So these headphones, if you've got an iPhone, a Mac, an iPad, etc., these headphones will switch very simply between all of those different devices. Much easier than Bluetooth. Bluetooth can be a bit of a faff at times, but that said, they do work as normal Bluetooth headphones. So if you have an Android phone, for example, or you just want to use them as Bluetooth phones on your laptop or something, they work fine. I've tested it on both, no issues with connectivity, but if you are an Apple user, these are particularly interesting headphones from that perspective. Now, the design, these are $50 headphones. They're not very expensive, and as such, they feel like $50 headphones, to be honest. There's two elements to them, I think, which is firstly this neck part, which goes around your neck, obviously, and that feels quite sturdy, actually. I think that would put up to quite a bit of wear and tear. The bits that I'm a bit more worried about are the connections or the wire between these kind of battery control modules, which I'll come on to in a minute, and the earbuds themselves. To me, that feels a little bit flimsy. I'm not convinced they would put up with a huge amount of wear and tear, really. Part of the issue with that, and part of the reason I'm mentioning this, is because you don't get a case with the Beats Flex. They just give you them as they are, basically. And I think the idea being that they are non-tangleable, if that's a word. You do very well to tangle them up. So you basically scrunch them up, chuck them in your bag, and you're done. In my experience, that works fine, no problem at all. But obviously you're introducing wear and tear when you do that. And as I say, I've had these for a week, so it's not a long-term test by any means. I will certainly do that at some stage. But I would just bear that in mind, really, that these don't feel particularly well made, I don't think. But that said, they do feel like a $50 pair of headphones. I'm neither disappointed nor surprised by their quality either way, really. They're just what you expect. Now, the other thing which they seem to be making quite a thing of in their marketing for these is that the earbuds snap together. This does two things, I think. One of them is when you have these around your neck, it just creates a bit of a loop when it works. Now, the benefit of that, I don't know. It's quite a big, they're quite long, so they're never really going to fall off your neck, I don't think. There's a bit of security there, I suppose, if you like that. The other thing the connection does, the magnet does, is if you're listening to music, when you take them out of your ears, if you connect them like that, it will stop playback and then resume playback once you unattach them. That's quite cool, although I'll be honest, it's a bit gimmicky. And that does lead to an issue, which I'll come on to later, which is a bit of a problem. But yeah, that's one. I got a bit fed up with this after a while. I don't really see the point of it, but yeah, they magnetise. Now, in terms of design and comfort, they do send you a number of earbuds to try. Comfort-wise, they're pretty good actually. I've worn them for long periods of time throughout the day, and they don't fatigue, you know, they don't get uncomfortable or ache. You know, some earbuds do ache after a while, none of that at all. So yeah, I was quite impressed with that side of things. They're also not quoted as being water resistant. That said, if you hunt around on the internet, you do find a few comments from people who have spoken to people behind the scenes at Beats who say, for example, the USB charging connection is sealed because that is exposed. There's no getting away from that. And I have taken them out in the rain, I've taken them to the gym and they've been introduced to sweat and what have you. And they've been fine so far. Again, it's not a long-term test, so I can't kind of tell you any more than that. And they're not rated as waterproof. So if that's quite a big thing for you, the Beats Flex probably aren't the best investment, I don't think. The controls, not really anything to get excited about, really. You have obviously the power button, and then you have a volume rocker up and down. There's also a mic on there as well. You can use these for calling, but that's it basically. On and off, up and down volume. That's as much as you get. I suppose that's as much as you need really. And just a quick note on the mic, you don't get hands-free Siri control with these as you do with devices like the AirPods Pro and the normal AirPods. Just bear that in mind if that's something that's important to you. These won't work with Siri in the same way that AirPods do. Now, the big thing, sound. Now, Beats are known, as I mentioned earlier, for a very kind of, well, they used to be known for a very, very bass-heavy sound. I think they have improved in recent years, but if you like the Beats sound, these sound nothing like Beats. The best way to describe the sound that Beats Flex produce is that it's very unremarkable, really. I wasn't blown away by it. I wasn't particularly disappointed by it either, actually. And they seem to get a bit better with extra playback and wear, which is quite often the case with headphones, actually. Once you wear them in, they tend to sound a little bit better. That said, I would note that they are very, what I would call middly. And by that I mean the middle range, which is where a lot of vocals sit and a lot of instrumentation actually sits in that range. That is where they struggle, I think. There's not a huge amount of definition there, and the result of that is that they do sound a bit harsh on certain tracks. So for example, if you listen to a lot of guitar music possibly, or a lot of music where there's a lot of stuff going on, they don't do very well with definition in that mid-range. And the problem with that is, one, you can't hear everything that you perhaps want to hear, and secondly, it becomes very fatiguing after a while. I listen to a whole variety of genres, so for me it didn't present too much of an issue because I flip between different things and I'm not listening to the same type of stuff all day. If you do and it has that middly sound, you're going to probably find these a little bit wearing after a while. I would say that. And it's a real shame because the bottom end actually is really nicely defined. I was really impressed with it. It's not boomy, it's not huge either, which is expected really. Top end as well, lots of detail in there. You could hear lots of things that you perhaps wouldn't normally hear with much cheaper headphones. So yeah, it's again, I'm not blown away by it. I'm not massively disappointed by it, apart from that fatigue thing, which I think could creep in for certain types of music. You get what you pay for, I think, really, and they've done a relatively good job with the sound. Just don't expect to be blown away or get that traditional Beats sound. A very quick note on the battery, because it is very quick to make note of. They quote 12 hours. I don't, as you know, if you've watched this channel before, you'll know that I do not do deep spec dives or long battery tests because I'd fall asleep while doing it, and you probably would as well. But I do real world testing, and my real world testing with these over the course of a week is that I very rarely had to charge them. So I have no doubt that 12 hours is completely possible, probably more actually. They're a very convenient pair of headphones when it comes to charging. So if you're out and about all day, or if you just can't be bothered with charging, yeah, they're great. They're really impressive. The other thing that's really impressive with them is the fact that they use USB-C, which is one of my favorite things ever. The reason for that is because I have an iPad that uses USB-C. I have a MacBook that uses USB-C. I have a few other things actually that charge via USB-C. So I've always got that charger with me, which means if I do need to juice these up quickly, I can do. As mentioned on the box, if you give them a 10-minute charge, you get 1.5 hours of playback. So you can very quickly juice them up if you need to, if you've run out of battery. Top marks on that Beats, it's, or Apple rather, really impressive. Now, a few annoyances that are worth mentioning. The power button is no problem with it where it's located, but what it does have is the LED indicator built into the button itself, which is just an odd design because obviously your entire finger covers that button while you're turning it on or turning it off. So you can't always see if you've successfully done so. The problem with that is that I found that I quite often held it for too long and instigated the Bluetooth pairing mode. That's just a pain, to be honest. Also, these battery modules, I know, I don't know if that's what they're called, but that's what I'm calling them. These two things on the left and right, they're quite big, probably difficult to see on here really, but they're rather large. Again, I understand why, because that is why they get 12 hours battery life. There's lots of battery power in there. The problem with them, two things. One of them is that I keep knocking them when the headphones are in my ears, when I'm sort of leaning on my desk or chair in certain instances. I knock the control module and it knocks the earphone out my ear. It's a bit annoying. But more importantly, and this might just be me, the left and right are indicated on here. Now, for some reason, I constantly forget what is left and right. Now, obviously left is the one actually that has the volume rocker and right is the one with the power button. For some reason I haven't learnt that yet, and it doesn't feel that intuitive, so I'm always having to, I put them on and then I think, oh hang on, left, right, wrong way round. A minor thing. I suppose I'm so used to the AirPods just going straight into my ears, not worrying about it. And lastly, they're very easy to forget to turn off. And again, this is partly the issue with having devices like the XM4s, which I reviewed recently, which turn themselves off after an amount of time, and AirPods, which are my kind of daily drivers in terms of fitness headphones and headphones that I use for Skype calls, etc. Because you just put them in the case, once you've finished with them, they just go in the case. You don't think about turning them on and off. And a lot of headphones that are on the market now are like that. These you have to remember to turn off, and I've forgotten that several times. Two issues with that. One is that the battery drains, obviously, and secondly, if it's still connected, if the headphones are still connected to your phone, and you get a phone call, then the phone call comes through the Beats, which are in your bag or upstairs or something, and yeah, that annoys me a little bit. I wish they had an auto off. A minor gripe, but So would I recommend them? I think it depends very much who you are when it comes to these. They're a really curious product, I think, a very curious, interesting product from the Beats brand. I think the market for Beats Flex are people who aren't that fussed about sound quality, but do value the convenience that you get with not having to continually charge your headphones. If that's you, I think they're quite a good price actually. $50, £50. It's not a huge amount of money for headphones from a well-known brand. I think we do have to bear in mind these days that Beats is owned by Apple, which in theory means you've got a lot of grunt behind that, behind the brand in terms of design and durability. Even though I do have a few concerns about durability, as I mentioned earlier, I just hope that Apple's presence behind the scenes is kind of having some sort of influence on that. So I think £50, $50 for a pair of, branded headphones is pretty good actually. To be honest, I will keep these, I will keep them around definitely. That battery life is so fantastic. They will just be handy to have to hand if my AirPods have run out of power, which does happen with the AirPods Pro. Who are they not for? They're definitely not for people who love sound and are very picky about their headphones. These won't do the job at all, partly because of that issue with the middle range. They're also not for people who are after traditional Beats headphones, and by that I mean two things really. One is the design. These, you can get them in different colours, but aside from that, there's very little branding. There's the little B on there, and they do say Beats on the side on one of the battery modules, but that's it. They're not in-your-face type headphones at all, and if that's your thing, fantastic, but these won't do the job for you. Also, the sound, if you're after some really bass heavy, typical Beats sounding headphones, these won't do the job, I'm afraid. They just won't. You'll be disappointed by them. In conclusion, they are a solid pair of all-day battery headphones for people who aren't bothered about sound and just want convenience. If that's you, they're actually a good buy. However, if that's not you, I would recommend carry on watching for a link to a review that I did recently of the Sony XM4 over-the-ear noise-cancelling headphones. They're a much bigger investment than the Beats Flex, but there is a good reason behind that. And also, I think I can save you a bit of money, which relates to the predecessor of the XM4s. So if that's your thing, carry on watching for a link to that video. Otherwise, thanks for watching. If you can subscribe, fantastic. If you just want to give this little video a like, even better. And yeah, I will see you next time. Thank you.